Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to our cozy little corner of the internet. I'm Pen and today I'm reading It's Not Love If You Run When It's Hard by Lead Cakes, chapter 14. Sorry I haven't uploaded in a little while. I honestly just lost motivation for pretty much everything. Not depression, nothing like that. I lost motivation for this and my writing, and I've basically been bumming around all day, and school as well, but still, other than that I've basically been bumming around. So I'm sorry about that. But anyway, let's head into the chapter. There is some slight mention of Izuku's past with SA. I don't think there's anything else. Izuku fights back, and it's really good. And also I get awkward because there's like a half sex scene in here, but it's like not really, so I'm not going to separate that. It's just like indicating. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the fic. Chapter 14. Izuku was not ready. There was no way he would ever be ready to meet the woman who nearly killed him again. He honestly hadn't imagined he'd ever want to. In truth, he didn't, but he needed answers. He needed closure, or at least he needed to allow himself the chance to find it. Regardless, he was still shaking like a leaf outside his mother's apartment door with Shota standing beside him. It had taken 2 weeks to convince her to meet with them, mostly due to her lacking the desire to meet some boy she used to claim on her taxes. Izuku wasn't altogether sure that he trusted himself not to punch a hole in his mother's wall if she tried anything stupid. Hell, he might even do it if she looked at him wrong. He wasn't the same child anymore. He wasn't scared anymore. Hey, you know we can still run or walk away, right? I know. Izuku gave Shota a hard glare. I want to do this. I need to do this. Shota nodded. That was that. They were doing this. Hitoshi was back at the dorms, anxiously awaiting a text from Izuku to tell him it was over. Osamu was much the same, probably pacing his apartment the whole time. Shota knocked on the door and Izuku waited for his doom to come. It didn't take long, not really. Inko came to the door and opened it with a blank face and a heavy sigh. Well, come in. You know where the tea is. Heaven knows I won't be doing this without caffeine. Izuku ground his jaw, but when Shota was about to object, Izuku waved him off. He wasn't there to start a fight, so he wouldn't judge his mother for a while. Shota handed Shota an extra pair of slippers from the closet beside the door, and put his own pair on as he walked into the kitchen and put a kettle on the stove. His teacher made his way into the living room after Inko, his eyes piercing but his expression blank. Inko didn't shy away under the weight. You're Aizawa-san, the teacher, right? I am. Inko scoffed. I still don't believe that my quirkless brat made it into that school. Your son is an excellent student, and he's going to make an amazing hero. Oh, that's rich. Inko laughed openly. Izuku was just about to grab the steaming kettle with his bare hand to keep from screaming at her. As if the commission would allow a quirkless hero in this country. Keep dreaming. Izuku carefully poured 3 mugs of hot water and placed 3 tea bags into the mugs. After a while of trying not to throw the kettle back at the back of his mum's head, Shota appeared to have a solid go at grinding his tea flat. Once he had all 3 mugs on the tray, he joined Shota on the couch across from his mother. She took her favourite mug from him, and with a glare, Izuku stared at the floor. So, why are you here? It's not about to boast about his good grades, is it? I want answers. Izuku nearly cut off his mother. The words came out in a rush. He had a death grip on the hot mug in his hand, or he did, until Shota took it from him to prevent Izuku from burning himself or shattering the cup. Answers to what? Inko's voice had dropped low. She was suspicious, but also getting bored of this conversation pretty quickly. She never did like spending time with her son. Izuku took a deep breath and put his Hail Mary onto the universe. Why did you do this to me? All of this to me. You nearly killed me when you... Oh, don't be dramatic, Izuku. You just ran away when you fell onto your desk. It's hardly a fatal wound. Please let me finish. Inko huffed but went silent. You threw me into the desk with your quirk. My ribs went into my lung. I nearly suffocated on my own blood. I did not run away. I was taken to a safer environment by adults who wanted to protect me. Izuku gripped the edge of the couch with both hands and finally looked his mother in the eye. Did you ever love me? Was this all for nothing? Why did you hate me so much? You can't be serious. That's what this is about? Inka practically threw her mug on the table, and she stood up and left the living room. Schroeder had his hand on his capture scarf, prepared for anything. Izuku was slowly deflating on the couch, prepared for any hope of finding closure to be ripped out of his hand momentarily. Instead, a scrapbook was slammed onto the table in front of him. What? What's this? Inko gestured for him to look, so he did. He flipped to open the first page, finding a picture he'd never seen before. In it, he was wrapped up in a blanket, held by his mother in a hospital bed, with his father right beside her. The most noticeable thing was no matter how hard Izuku tried to focus on his father's face, it wouldn't unblur. What the hell? You were a beautiful baby, well behaved, and well loved, I suppose, she sighed. Then you got that disdainable diagnosis, and your father left not long after. I couldn't hold a job, and heaven knows we barely kept a roof over our heads, and all of that was your fault. She spoke matter-of-factly, as if there was no room to argue. Izuku was stunned into silence, his mouth agape and his eyes locked onto the picture of himself as a toddler, playing in the park with Katsuki, their mothers laughing in the background. Schroeder stood up, anger waved wafting off of him. That's the word. You would blame your son for something entirely out of his control? What kind of mother are you? Inko was to her feet in seconds. The kind of mother who fed him, clothed him, and worked several jobs to keep us off the streets, despite his disability. I didn't kick him out, did I? Oh, so you think doing the bare minimum is enough? You think providing the most basic needs and almost killing him qualifies as good parenting? Schroeder scoffed. What a pathetic woman you are. He's lucky I did that, she countered. Most mothers of quirkless children drop them off at orphanages or leave them to die on the streets at 4 years old. He's lucky I kept him. It wasn't much, but the government gave me aid for having a disabled child. I guess that goes to you now, huh? Schroeder had no response to that. His face was an open wreck of emotions, horror and disgust. Izuku glared at the floor as if he could set it on fire. He really wanted to, and in some other universe, he might have dropped a match and let it go up in flames, but in this one, he just let her words rattle around in his skull, while his teacher was scrambling to control the argument. You think, Schroeder started, you think he's lucky to have had you? Inko crossed her arms with a smug look on her face. Schroeder shook his head while rolling his tongue around in his mouth. He wanted to say some choice words, that much was obvious. Instead, he said, Izuku was lucky to have survived you. Inko's smug face turned into a violent sneer. Get out. Inko had yet to move from his place on the couch. Had only minutes passed? He swore he'd been sitting there for days, listening to his mother and teacher argue. Eventually, his throat stopped strangling him enough so he could speak. Did you know what Dad did to me? What? Inko snapped. Did you know what he did? Izuku stood up slowly. He touched me. In no way a father should touch their son. Did you know? She stared at him hard for 8 seconds exactly, then looked away. The silence and shame in her eyes wasn't answer enough. Izuku collapsed back onto the couch with his head in his right hand. She knew. She never put a stop to it. She loved Izuku's father more than she loved Izuku. She protected her husband over her son. Inko growled in frustration. When she grabbed his arms to pull him up, Izuku cried out without thinking. He expected pain, and it did actually come. He was using her quirk to keep him in her grip. He promised himself he wouldn't freeze up. He wouldn't play defense. He would play offense. He had to play offense. Before Schroeder could intervene, he was already reaching back. Izuku grabbed the back of his mother's neck and kicked his legs outwards, effectively flipping her over her shoulders. She screamed, but he did not stop until she was on the floor, with his right foot over her throat, gasping for air. "If you ever touch me again, it won't be me you have to worry about." Schroeder was beside him, eyes glowing and his capture scarf floating around his shoulders. The man looked menacing with his quirk active. Izuku was well aware of that. He might be using it against Inko for only a few moments to scare her. She coughed. "Get out of my house." Gladly. Izuku released her and marched towards the door. There was nothing left in this house that held any meaning to him. He had already taken all his belongings months ago, and now even his mother meant nothing. The apartment was never a bad... This apartment was nothing but a bad memory he wanted to lock away. He did, however, stop at the coffee table and grab the scrapbook so he could rip that picture of him and Katsuki out of the book and pocket it. There had been a few good moments of his childhood, and he treasured those dearly. When Schroeder slammed the front door after them, Izuku felt his legs give out. He grabbed the walkway railing to keep himself upright, and Schroeder was there too, wrapping his arms around Izuku gently. "You are loved, Izuku. She doesn't matter. You have a family, and we are not leaving you. Blood isn't the only thing that makes a family." "I know," Izuku whispered. "I know, thank you." He hugged Schroeder back and swallowed the sob in his chest. He was so tired of crying, of breaking down, but damn, did he really need a break from the insanity of his life. This wasn't closure. This was another wound he'd ripped open into his own heart. Hitoshi and Osamu had been right. In the end, she would never see Izuku as anything worthy of love, not after his quirkless diagnosis. To say this stung would be a vast understatement. Izuku's whole chest had been cracked open with a crowbar, leaving his heart to throb exposed to the air. The ride back to UA campus was slow and quiet. Schroeder had taken the long road, every so often running a finger over his grey band. Izuku really wanted to talk with Hitoshi and Osamu. He wanted the comfort of the people who understood him. Izuku had to wonder if Schroeder understood him better than he let on. "I know I can't possibly imagine how you're feeling right now, but I'm here if you need to talk." Izuku thunked his head against the window. He should talk. He knew he should try to talk about what he was feeling, but in truth, he didn't want to acknowledge his feelings, let alone talk about them. Schroeder pulled the car to a stop in the teacher's parking lot, but he didn't get out. Izuku didn't move either. A few students ran by, chasing each other across the campus playfully. It was a bright and sunny Saturday afternoon, and everything should be perfect. And maybe it was, out there. In here, Izuku was watching himself crumble to pieces on the car seat. "I knew," he croaked out. "I knew she didn't love me." Wiping his face, Izuku tried to keep himself from breaking down yet again. I guess I was just holding out hope that maybe there was some small spark left inside her for a child she brought into the world. Schroeder sighed. Honestly, I was hoping for that too. I'm sorry, Izuku. No one deserves to lose their parents like that. He put a hand on Izuku's shoulder, making the teen look back up to him. It's her loss. You are going to be an amazing hero. I am so proud of you, okay? Yeah, okay. Izuku shouldered Hitoshi's dorm room door. Wow, that's a confusing sentence. Dorm room door open, shutting it behind him with a thud. Not quite a slam as he threw the lock. Hitoshi looked up from his desk and rubbed his eyes. Whatever look on Izuku's face must have been horrible, because Hitoshi was on his feet a moment later, rushing across the room to him. The second he was within arm's reach... I'd lost my track. The second he was within arm's reach, Izuku grabbed onto his face and crushed their lips together. Hitoshi was shocked, to say the least, but he recovered quickly and pressed Izuku into the door. Oh god, this is going to be another sex scene, isn't it? Oh god. Let's hope not. Hitoshi broke the kiss, breathless and gasping. What happened? You were right. Izuku wrapped his arms around Hitoshi's waist and grabbed the back of his waistband to yank him forward and grind their hips together. I don't want to talk about it. The lavender teen groaned into Izuku's neck, kissing along his shoulder. Oh god, Izuku taking a few shuddering breaths. If you want a distraction, Hitoshi said, knowing Izuku all too well. You want a distraction. Hitoshi said, knowing Izuku all too well. This isn't healthy. You know that, right? Every word was pronunciated with a kiss or nip to his neck or chin. After several more, he grabbed Izuku's thighs and hiked him up so his waist around his waist after a quick jump from Izuku. Don't care, Izuku mumbled against the side of his partner's head. The universe did not care about Izuku's needs. The universe did not want him to be distracted from his horrible emotions. Instead, the door behind him rattled with a thumping fist. Izuku let his head fall back against the door and let out a deep growl in his throat. Yeah, what? Hitoshi's voice was clipped, frustrated. Is Izuku with you? Nezu said he wanted to talk to me. Fuck, Todoroki. Izuku brushed his curls from his face and nodded to himself. Yeah, maybe we can meet in my room after dinner? Sure. Todoroki took 2 steps away from the door, then stopped. Why are you two standing behind the door? Hitoshi bit his own knuckles to keep from laughing. Izuku swallowed back the mix of frustration and embarrassment burning in his gut. I'll meet you later, Todoroki. It took all of Izuku's willpower to say that with a steady voice. The teen outside the door left after a few tense seconds. He must be thinking over Izuku's non-response. And though intelligent, Todoroki was sheltered. Izuku was more than aware of that, and he was not going to have a conversation about why he was currently wrapped around Hitoshi's waist, pressed up against the door. I don't think we're ever going to get a moment of privacy, Hitoshi chuckled. Izuku groaned. Never. Still, Izuku combed his fingers through Hitoshi's hair and pulled his body up a bit against the door. But we have time. I'll hang a do not disturb sign on the door if I must. Are you sure? Hitoshi rolled... Oh no, getting back into it. Hitoshi rolled back his hips, his face buried in Izuku's neck, and his voice almost muffled in his skin. I'm still worried I'll hurt you. I trust you. This is dangerous, Sue. And it would not be love if I ran when things got hard, right? or dangerous or scary? Hitoshi smiled against his neck, and he thudded against the door, giving Izuku something to rest on, and also something for his hips to grind against. He was not very coordinated, or even that skillful. He'd never done anything like this before. His knowledge on sexual experiences was only the things he'd done with Hitoshi, well, the only voluntary experiences, that is. Hitoshi rolled his hands down Izuku's hips and groped his ass. You're cute when you use your words against me. Izuku gasped at the tingling sensation that ran up his spine when Hitoshi sunk into the back of his pants. God, did he still need that distraction? Was he more than aware that this wasn't a healthy way to deal with trauma? Yes. Would Osamu most likely berate him if he found out? Absolutely. Did he care? Kiss me, Izuku begged. Hitoshi only pulled him closer by his backside until their lips were pressing together so hard that their pelvic bones were grinding against each other's bodies. Please, he gasped out the word. The very second Hitoshi's mouth opened to speak, the fire alarm blared to life, overheard, following promptly by sprinklers clicking to life and pouring water across the whole room, both of them included. They both just sat there, dumbfounded, as water poured over their heads. Damn it, Pikachu! Katsuki shouted somewhere over the door. There's no need to... There's supposed to be a surge protection in that outlet. No, Cat, I didn't... Kaminari is so dead. Hitoshi broke into a fit of giggles, and Izuku couldn't help but laugh alongside him. His back slumped against the door in frustration. Oh, God. Izuku let his head fall onto Hitoshi's shoulder, with a splat from both his hair and his partner's shirt. I'm starting to think the universe is against us. It might be. Hitoshi carefully placed him back on the ground. Come on, I don't want Aizawa dragging us out of our room when he's already a angry wet cat. Good point. Thankfully they both had their phones in their pockets, and most students knew better than to leave their laptops out of their cases when they weren't using them. The school had a very strict in your case when not in use policy for just about everything the Hero Corps students touched, because if it wasn't surged, it would often end up broken or blown up, or soggy apparently. By the time they made it out of the building, most of their classmates were already wringing out their clothes on the grass, and some of the girls were shaking their head like dogs to get the excess water out. Kaminari was in a headlock under Katsuki's arm, complaining loudly. The taller blonde completely ignored his pleas for release. Hey, you guys okay? Todoroki walked over to them, his body quite literally steaming as he dried himself off with his quirk. Yeah, thanks, Todoroki, we're fine. Where's Shota? Izuku asked. Inside, clearing the building. Mike Sensei's taking roll. You should check in. Got it, thanks. Hitoshi tucked an arm over Izuku's shoulder as they both walked over to where the teachers were standing. The other teacher was standing with a clipboard checking their names off every so often. Ah, there you go. There you both are. Good. We're only missing a couple more. I think Hagakure was taking a nap before dinner and I can't find her. Have you, seen her? Hagakure? He shouted. Present? Hagakure? He shouted. Present. An armless pajama sleeve poked out from behind Mina and Momo. Oh, thank God. Hizashi ruffled Izuku's damp curls and ushered them back towards a group of students. Hitoshi said he wanted to check on Koda and Tokoyami, but they're shy classmates, and Izuku wanted to hear what happened from the horse's mouth, So he made his way over to where Katsuki was standing, Kaminari having given up trying to escape and instead of hanging limply in Katsuki's arms. Please tell me you weren't practicing your quirk on the dorms, Kaminari. I wasn't. He jumped up just as much as Katsuki's hold would allow. I promise. No, he tried to become a living oven, No, he tried to become a living oven. Jeez, thanks English. As if Icy Hot hadn't already got that one covered. Ka-chan. Izuku rolled his eyes. What happened, Kaminari? Well, when we practice, I got that scorch in my hand. Well, I thought if I let at least a low dose in my outlet, maybe I could produce heat. Apparently the dorm outlets did not have a surge protection. It overloaded and caught on fire. Izuku pinched his nose and sighed. Please don't use your quirk in the dorms again. I know Shota's going to give you a longer lecture than I will, so I'll leave it at that. Sorry, Midoriya. Katsuki finally released the electric blonde from the headlock and grunted in his annoyance. Just don't do it again, Pikachu. A few moments later, Shota came storming out of the dorms with the last couple of students, Shoji and Jiro. They were both holding noise-cancelling headphones and looked rather ashamed. Shota looked pissed. He was soggy and his long black hair clinged to his face and neck, along with his capture scarf. Oh, this was not going to be a good time for any of them. Do I need to explain just how upset I am that someone set off the fire alarms by messing with their quirk? Izuku ducked behind Hitoshi while the tired teen wandered back over to him. Oh, he big mad, Hitoshi mumbled. Izuku was very much in agreement with that. Kaminari tried to run away but Katsuki grabbed him by the back of his collar and forced him to march forward. The electric blonde was more than terrified as he was already wincing against his own shoulder. Detention for a month, Kaminari. I know Izuku told you to not mess around with the dorms electric. This is why we have training gyms. Let's go, principal's office. He grabbed the blonde by the ear, much to Kaminari's streaking displeasure. The rest of you, back in the dorms. I'll have an upperclassman help you dry off everything. Anything destroyed can be fixed for Nezel's replacement. Support course can fix electronics. Go. They all scurried back into the dorm room, the sprinklers having stopped and the alarm off, finally. They all sort of mulled around the living room, mostly unsure what to do. Should we start here and work our way up to the dorms? Momo suggested. That sounds like a good idea, Ida agreed. Let's split into groups. One group can tackle the common room, one can tackle the locker room and storage rooms, and one can start on the bedrooms. Each group should have a fire users or someone that can help dry things off. So they split off into 3 groups, using mostly Todoroki, Katsuki and Momo as their 3 main dryers. Both Todoroki and Katsuki had fire-type quirks to help heat up dry items, and Momo could produce fans and hair dryers as needed, among other things. Izuku ended up on Momo's team in the common room, while Hitoshi was shoved into Todoroki's team, working on the side rooms like storage and locker rooms. Katsuki rounded out the 3rd group and started in the bedrooms. Alright, let's break up. Alright, let's break up and each take a section of the room. I'll make several fans and heaters for us. Izuku decided to take the kitchen as Momo got started on making heaters. There was a lot in the kitchen he could just wipe off with towels, so he grabbed one from the oven handle and started drying the appliances after unplugging them carefully. The electricity was going in and out, and they'll likely have Kaminari fix what he broke. Ironically, That was he was their resident electrician. According to the blonde, his parents were both electricians, and they trained him in as their apprentice from the moment his quirk appeared. Kaminari couldn't be electrocuted, and while Izuku would highly disagree that letting a baby play with live wires, it was relatively safe for someone with his power. So, whenever something went wrong electronically in the dorms, they tend to have Kaminari fix it. Besides, Shota would probably make them repair his mistake as part of his punishment. It didn't take long for Izuku to finish up the kitchen. He did have to go mop the floor and make sure it was dry, and make sure to dry off the top of the cabinets and the fridge, but he was fairly sure he dried everything off properly. About halfway through, a couple of upperclassmen with air quirks were sent over to dry the walls, ceilings, and carpets to prevent mold from forming. It took them the better part of the afternoon to get everything done, but at least they wouldn't have to get any water remediation done on the building. Eventually, Izuku made his way back to his room and found most of his belongings dry. Those air quirks were useful as hell. His laundry basket would be rewashed, but oh well, it wasn't such a nightmare. The knock to his open door startled him out of his thoughts. Midoriya. Oh, Todoroki, come in. Shut the door, yeah? Sure. Izuku tossed his soggy hamper to the floor by the door to remind himself to rewash it later, while Todoroki found a spot on his shockingly dry bed. The upperclassmen did a good job. They did, Izuku agreed. So, Izuku huffed out of breath, already exhausted. I'm gonna be blunt about this. Hang on, what? I'm gonna be blunt about this. Your father burnt my mentor, and I want to take him down a few pegs. Literally. Legally. Okay. Izuku blinked. Okay. Just okay. He's opened his mouth to speak when realized he was too stunned to say anything, took a moment to think, and nodded. I mean, I know you have discussions about you have your differences with your father, obviously, as we discussed, and I didn't honestly think you would agree so readily. Midoriya, I hate my father. I thought it was obvious. If you want me to throw a bomb in his career, don't let me stop you. Besides, I'd like to see someone do what I can't, or at least that's what I can't have my name tied to. I just end up getting in bigger trouble with him anyway. So you're fine if I release a 50-page manifesto about all his crimes and fuck-ups online to ruin his reputation and destroy his career? Sure, Todoroki shrugged. Can I read it first? I don't think I've ever seen all of what he's done listed out. Well, Izuku rubbed the back of his neck. I haven't exactly finished it yet. I do have some pretty scathing things. I do have a pretty scathing notebook about him, but I plan to write a well-written essay on all his good works. Izuku used air quotes. I'll let you read it before I release it, of course. Thanks. Was that all? Yeah, I thought this was going to be a much, larger conversation. Oh, Todoroki stood up. Send me the file. I'm excited to read it. Izuku wasn't so sure he believed the fire and ice user was excited. If only his tone was so nonchalant. If only because his tone was so nonchalant. Jeez, fuck English. Then again, he never really shown much in the way of emotions. Izuku vowed to do something about that. He really did. Izuku felt a sort of kinship with Todoroki in some way. The abuse they both clearly suffered as children, it might be opposite ends of the spectrum of quirks, but he was still familiar with the sort of scars left on the heart. So I do that sometimes. My breath does involuntary gasps. I'm not sure if you've noticed it before, but anyway, back in. Izuku might have stood in his storm staring at the door after Todoroki left for a solid 10 minutes debating his choice. In the end, he knew he was going to take Endeavor down, but maybe he'd add a few of the best information he could instead of holding back. At the same time, he wanted to do this carefully. He wanted to be a hero, and he didn't want to disappoint Hitoshi or Shota. He wanted revenge, but as Hitoshi said, he wanted to be a hero more than anything else. So, delicate was the word of the day. Okay, everyone, that was It's Not Love If You Run When It's Hard by Lita Cakes, Chapter 14. There's only one chapter left, and I'm so excited to read it. I haven't read it, like how I was reading like 3/4 of this chapter, just first time ever. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry for the awful stuttering. It's been like the first time in like a week and a half I've recorded, so I'm really sorry about that. But anyway, hope you guys have a good day. Make sure to take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!